Good evening. I'd like to welcome everyone to our special city council meeting for Tuesday, April 28, 2026, 6:30 p.m. at the Bennettsville Public Safety Complex. At this time, we have invocation by Councilman Scott.
Let us bow our heads in a word of prayer. Lord, we come to you in the most humble manner that we know how. Lord, we ask you to move from mind to mind and heart to heart. Lord, you know what we need. Lord, bind us together this evening like you never bind us before. And if you find anything in our hearts that's not pleasing in our sight, we want you to cast it in the sea of forgiveness. For it can never rise and trouble us again. Lord, we know that you're able to do all things. And Lord, if something is lost, you can find it. Something need to be put together, you can put it back together. Yeah. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. At this time, with the roll call, I'll start on Councilman Scott's side.
Gregory Scott, the Great District 6.
Saheem McCray, District 5. The best.
At this time, Mr. Councilman Jennings is out of town with his job, and we just wish and hope that he have a safe return trip back. Tyrone Abraham there.
Caroline Hart, District 3.
Tyrone R. Davis, District 2, Shining Star.
Wanda Weaver, District 1.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay. At this time, we are having the second reading and passage for our full ordinance of for our budget for 2026 and 2027. So at this time, I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to ask for a motion to approve or disapprove the budget. And then after that, then we'll go into discussion, give everybody an opportunity to speak. Since this is our fifth workshop, so at this time to keep everything down, I'm going to give everybody 3 minutes to basically state your concerns, and we just move forward. And if just in case that the budget does not pass, then we'll look at having another meeting and keep on discussing until we move forward. At this time, I ask a motion for the second reading and passage in the full of ordinance for 2026, 2027 fiscal budget.
I so move.
Second. Okay, it's moved in second. All in favor? Okay.
I just see we go have discussion before we vote. You said we'll have discussion before we voted. Right.
No.
That's it, Al. Okay.
We usually the way that the motion works is a motion, then second, and then discussion, and then you vote. So I was under the impression that you said you would go voice, we could voice, take our 3 minutes during that time. Or maybe I was misunderstood.
Yeah, what I was saying, Ms. Mason, what I was saying is that since on the agenda it says for a second reading vote, I was gonna have everyone to vote, and then after everybody vote, if they approve or disapprove, then I was gonna come back with a discussion. Everyone will have opportunity to discuss after. So I need to do it before.
Yeah, you need to have a discussion before, because
Okay,
under
no
that
problem.
scenario, if they voted and approved it, then there would never be any discussion.
Okay, no
So,
problem.
yeah, you need to have a discussion before.
Okay, all right, no problem.
Can you still limit that discussion to 3 minutes?
I mean, that's, if he's running the meeting, if he wants to put that on y'all, I think that's his call.
Okay, all right. So what we'll do, we'll have discussion. I'll call for discussion. But what I'm asking council is consider that we have had 5 workshops, and things that's been, every workshop almost has been changed different times, and for lack of time and for everyone, because I know we've been spending time, we've been doing 3 or 4 hours. And, some council members is kind of displeased. So what I'm asking at this time, again, I will ask for a motion for passage of the full ordinance for 2026 and 27.
Discussion first.
Okay, so a motion was made, Councilman Scott, and second by Councilman Davis. Discussion? Yes, sir.
What I will say is that I just do not believe that I could support this budget, because I asked, first and foremost, and I was looking at the news article today, actually, and I asked for it to be published for public view. Because how we gonna have a reading and how we gonna have public hearings and all that good stuff, and the public can't see what it is on it. So I'm conflicted by that. I asked about the merit to be placed on its own individual line instead of being factored in with the salaries and wages, because I don't know what the actual salary and wages is and what the actual merit is. I will also say that I sent the email and I asked about a proposed ordinance related to transfers and keeping track of those. And I wish we could have did a first reading on it yesterday and kind of worked on it, and we still haven't put that in place yet. And there are a few more things that I have issues with, but those are the main things right now. So I am unable to support this budget as it is, as it stands right now.
Yes,
Now,
sir.
hopefully we can do that. And like I said, I asked, they still haven't. I even asked the other day while I was out of town for it to be published on, and it still hasn't been published, not to my knowledge now. Another question I have real quick. Yesterday we were talking, and I went back and looked at the notes that I had. We talked about how we raised rates 15%, right? And you say, well, it didn't yield much, only about $200,000. And so I guess I was thinking about it, and since we are here today, and we need like 100, what is it that we trying to? How much are we trying to? What's the proposed deficit or whatever? 100 and what thousand?
It depends on what y'all are trying to do. So if you're asking about the two positions specifically, that's an impact of 185,000.
So my question is, since we got those $200,000 from raising the 15%, like what did those funds go to? Or like, because could that cover, I guess, that cost or whatever that is that we're facing, that discrepancy or whatever? Could it fix that?
So that was last year's budget. So it didn't cover anything specifically. It was generated revenue to support overall operations of the budget. This year, you're looking at a new set of expenditures. And so you have to match, you want your revenues to match those new expenditures for the upcoming year. So if you're asking about the fees and its impact moving forward, you could possibly do some more smaller increases that will help with that. Just depending on what you want to do.
Okay. Okay. All right. Anybody else? You have anything else?
Whatever my time, but we do.
Anybody else have anything? Okay.
So I was a little confused. I was thinking we were gonna do the discussion before the vote. And I guess like we did, just go ahead and do the motion.
Yeah, well, that's what we're doing. Go ahead and put it down.
Okay, so, I think we got in the weeds a little bit last night regarding the,
Yeah.
yes, the DPI position. I was not for cutting that. I thought we could do it with some other cuts. Some things I mentioned were $150,000 in the budget for a property purchase. Making some adjustments with our donations. I looked at, I think we have 11. I looked at possibly just taking $1,000 out of each of those. That wouldn't be eliminating those. That would save us 11,000, obviously. I've mentioned a couple of times proceeding on with making the change, to eliminate banking fees. That would be 12.3. Those three things would get us almost where we need to be. So, and of course, as I mentioned, I'm open to other, looking at other potential, ways to address this deficit. Just for me, losing the police department positions and losing the, director of public utilities was just not something that I wanted to do. I think we can do it in other ways.
Ms. Lee?
Okay, I know last night when we were talking, I said, I could go with deleting that position for utilities. Went home, started thinking about all of this. When we started, we had a $400,000 deficit. And I need somebody to make it make sense to me that if we add 2 police department positions back in the budget, cut the DPU, and then pay Mr. Simon more, how does that make the budget balanced?
Can he answer that question?
Go ahead, go ahead.
Well, let me explain something, just for a second here, because I heard it twice tonight. For one, there is no deficit, right? The balanced budget that we have does not have a shortfall in, right? What we're doing is we've created additional expenditures as a part of our projections. So just like we have donations, we decided on those donations, which means your revenues would have to match your expenditures. When you say shortfall, it gives the illusion that there is a deficit in some way. And you don't have that, you have a balanced budget. I think what we're trying to do is, I think y'all are trying to decide on what that budget should be comprised of. So there is no shortfall or deficit in your budget. Regarding that $400,000 that you're talking about, and I seen that posted on social media today, that's inaccurate. If you can recall, at our very first workshop, we were attempting to be very conservative and cut back our budget all the way to last year's spending. And if we had looked at it from that perspective, it would have been a $400,000 deficit, and we were trying to see how to compensate for that. At our next workshop, if you can recall, we decided to not do that, that was a little bit too ambitious on the conservative side, that government really doesn't work like that, that every year expectations and demands increase, and so we needed to increase the budget. And so we looked at our revenues and we did that. And then that's how we ended up with me making all the changes that all be requested at that second and third workshop to get to the point where we balance the budget. So I just want to clear it up. There is no shortfall, there is no deficit in the budget. It's balanced as of today. I think what all of you are maybe trying to decide on is how it should be balanced. Like, should it be balanced with what? More positions, less positions, more donations, less donations. I think that's the conversation, but there's no shortfall.
That was my understanding after the first meeting.
Yeah.
But also, I'm having a problem also with the fleet lease, almost doubling. And then, bear with me a second. There's another fleet lease listed in here. I brought it up last night, but apparently nobody paid attention to it. And Mayor, I hate to say this, I know we have had 5 meetings and it's taken a while, but that's our job. We need to work on this.
As long as when we come to agreement and then change it up 5 different times, then it's not accomplishing anything.
Well, anyway, there's another fleet lease. I can't find it with one hand right now. But that even takes our fleet lease over $400,000 close to 500,000. And I'm not happy with that. So, right now, my vote will be a no.
Okay. Can we find what Ms. Weaver was saying about, because you said that nobody really paid you attention, but it's not true because you had pulled, the fleet lease was on two different sheets and we looked at both of them. So no one never not paid you attention. You know, you said that.
I see one on the page 14.
Right,
That's
and
the-
Now,
was on
it
another page.
is listed under other, like some departments, but if you look,
Fleet
it's
lease.
it's an asterisk under, that means like, I guess it all got combined into one.
Yeah,
So,
and
yeah.
we discussed that last night, so no one is overlooking no one, okay?
We didn't discuss the two different ones last night. We discussed the
We went back to
250 and
both
480.
pages, right, it went back to both pages.
But I can't find it now.
So the total, oh gosh, I'm sorry, I'm not supposed to speak.
I'm finished.
Okay, Ms. Hall,
I just wanted to clarify, so the total amount on the fleet lease is on page 14, under that single line item. 481,000.
okay,
That's correct.
okay, at the top, 59, 350. Okay.
Which one?
It's on page 14.
Oh, okay,
At the
okay.
top, 59, 350. It's the last one on the top of the column.
Okay,
Yeah,
I got
that's the one she's talking about. And it's
Any-
481. Ms. Simon.
Yeah.
She was asked a question about the,
Fleet
about the fleet lease.
Yeah, it's
481.
It's combined, here, to better manage it. It was embedded in different departments, and so when vehicles would come and go, or if there was an accident, or if a position was taken from one area to another, or if we had to loan a truck to a different department long-term, it was just really convoluted and we couldn't keep up with it. So you'll see it in the individual departments as a GL, but we combined it so that we can better manage it.
Everything else was on. All right. I just want to say that, yes, I understand that the DPU position is a very important position. And that position has been open now for some time. And the reason why I was asking to freeze that position was that as council and administrator, we could go back and regroup, maybe looking at a better incentive package that we could offer, because that position has been open now for how long, Mr. Simon?
10 years.
No,
Well, I can only speak to almost 3.
Who had
okay, right, about 3.
it
Okay,
as long as I've
that's-
been here?
Well,
Mike's been doing it as long as I was here. I'm almost 8 years now, and it ain't been filled. That's just about 10 years.
yeah, I know, our past administrator, he was doing it for several years. But what I was saying was that instead of just putting a package out there and advertise for position, we need to look back. I know there was some things about how the distance, the location. We want to get a qualified person. We did have a qualified person whenever that position was first posted. And some council members wanted to meet the individual one-on-one at certain times. And basically, it was just too much, overwhelming. And he just said that I can't be going through all this. So he found, we went on and moved on. He moved on and like I said, he was a good candidate. But not saying that we can't find another good candidate. And I know that we're gonna have to try to find ways to bring a good person in and not just keep a position open and hoping that we just get anybody that's not qualified. That position, from my understanding, it takes a lot. It takes calculating to make sure that our utilities is calculated the same way. It's managing so many different departments to make sure that they are doing what they're supposed to do. So it's not an easy job, easy position. No, the salary was bumped up, but during the time when our past administrator was here, it was hard trying to fill that position then. I know Ms. Weaver and Councilman Scott Davis was here. It was hard. So the only thing I was asking is that we come back to the table, look at incentives, look at the location. What are we saying that how far can this person be living from the city of Bennettsville? Then we go and we need to do better as in council and administration, working towards trying to recruit. We just all of a sudden just assume we put the names out, put the applications and put the post the position, and just people putting in, but they're not the ones that really that's qualified to do that job, because that job hosts a lot of different areas and it's very important. So what the only reason I was asking to freeze that to give us time to go ahead and look at a better way for incentives. I also want to say that with the police department positions, it was some false information put out that the police department, that some council members was trying to take away active working positions. And that was not true. We would never do that. What we was looking at is positions that's been vacant for, I know Chief said, last night?
10.
Well, I'll say I take 6, 7 years. Okay, that those positions has been vacant. So at no means, at no time, any council member was trying to take active police positions away. That would not be fair to us, and definitely wouldn't be fair to our citizens. So that was not true. When we had our first meeting, we said that we would not, it came about that we were saying, okay, we don't want to raise fees because the citizens have went through so much with the utilities being higher than it ever been before. So we said in the first meeting, we want to look at other avenues instead of trying to raise fees. So I guess throughout the meetings now, you have some council members that want to mention about raising fees. I cannot justify and say to the citizens, how do we raise fees, but then we giving close to $100,000 in donations, but then we're gonna raise fees on our citizens. I couldn't be a part of that, because if we do that, we would have voted for that. That wouldn't have gave our citizens no time frame to prepare. It would like we would have voted on it and then it would have started. We have to make sure that we let our citizens know and give them time. $5 may not be much to me or others, but it's a lot to some of the citizens that live in this city. So that was some of the reasons why I was looking at the position for the DPU, because I just feel like right now we could do better. Sometime if we sit back and put our minds together and come up with a better incentive, then it might work better than just trying to rush and just advertise position because hoping that we get somebody. Just my opinion. I'm just one person. Let me see here.
When did y'all update the job description and the salary on that one?
Okay, that was Simon. Can you answer that?
I'm sorry,
I believe it was sometime last year.
As far
What the DPU position, whenever it was upgraded.
as salary. And changing it to an assistant city administrator for public utilities. Yes, council. That was an action by council.
I was just wondering when that was done.
Ooh, I don't
I don't have it from me. Less than a year ago, almost right at a year, I want to say, but I'm just going off recollection.
Yeah.
And we were doing that because it was a recruiting effort. We're doing all we can, just going and getting qualified applicants, and so we decided to modify the title a little bit, and we were. I don't think we changed the salary right away. We came after the fact and looked at our revenues, and we were able to change the salary.
And see, it's so much other ways that we could do. You know, we could, what I would like to see is that we go into visiting colleges or rising that seniors that's getting ready to graduate from college. We reach out to the co-ops, we have some employees that get ready to retire. We just got to think and put our heads together. And that's the reason why I decided to say that I approve freezing that position, because we could all come together as a team and say, look, let's look at this, let's go that. Two of the council members and administration, let's go down to Francis Marion, let's go to another college, let's look at, see if we can recruit and start and bring someone back that's young, that's energetic, or either a retiree or anyone, that they will see that we are trying in a different way. Sometimes we have to step out of that box that we stay in because we only see in one way. And this is a big picture. We all the time looking at one direct way when there's so many other opportunities that we can do different things as long as we put the work in. But we got to put the work in. That's the only way it's gonna happen. That's all I got. Go ahead, Council.
Okay, let me kind of upgrade a little bit with that when we talk about the DPU and how this all began, how it came about since I've been on council. When I came on council, we didn't have one. All right, so Mike's were doing it. So Mr. Simon, we hired him and we still don't have one. So what we did with council, this council, it wasn't him. He's the administrator. That's what he's supposed to do, administrator. But we don't have anybody and we've not been able to hire anybody. So we said we would give them a 10% increase to do the job. It's a whole job, a real important, probably one of the most important jobs we have here in the city. Okay, he didn't ask for it, we push it to him. Now you say freeze. And if we freeze it, we have a balanced budget all the way across the board. Everything we ask for, 2 police officers, everything. The donations, which I was very highly talking earlier, and y'all heard me say earlier, sometimes you have to help yourself that you cannot maybe give donation because you're still trying to build our utility department, our public work, our police department, and our fire department. We are dying need for money. So, okay, now we come back and say freeze. Freeze means that you're gonna take the position and now Mr. Simon is gonna have it completely for a whole year. But we will save if we give it another 10%. You gotta pay somebody if you're gonna take it away and freeze it. Now the money can come back into the budget, but you again him an incentive to do the job. He don't have to do this important job. We as councilmen, that's us. That's us. That's us, right? And meaning that sure, he's been out there trying to get people, more or less why we can't get people for 2 reasons. Salary, and we put restrictions on where a person could live. That's what tore it up. And the council have too much involved with that hiring process. Sit back, let the administrator run the job, get hiring, and let him get people in place. So now we are stuck with it. But we have a budget. The budget is balanced right now. Are we gonna say no? Are we gonna go ahead and pass the budget with everything across the board that all of us, you, everybody here, want it? Now when we go back in it, we're either gonna have to cut some of the donations, or we're gonna have to cut some of the officers. We are gonna have to cut something. It's just plain and simple. You cannot get away from this. It's plain and simple. But now you have it before you deny it. We could vote for that and we can move forward. And we are done. And we go on into other things that we really need to be getting into. We get tied up on one thing and we stay here. We just spin. We need artists that we need to be taking care of. So many things that's going on in the city that we just stay here, just still spinning. We've been on this now. But 4 weeks now, 4, 5 weeks. 4, 5 weeks we've been on. Now we finna go back over it again. But before you tonight, council, you have a budget before you. And 10% more to give to this man. I know you probably say, a lot of them say, well, he's taking all the money from the city, he's doing that. But it ain't none of you are gonna do 2-position job. There are jobs that he's talking about doing, the DPI, the DPU, average out from 110 to 115 a whole year. That's a salary. But he said he would do it just for a portion of the money, and how important that it is. He would do it for a portion of the money. Well, all right, then can we hire somebody? We can't find nobody to do the job. But if we throw it in his face, do he supposed to do it? You wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. Because there's percentage in it. This is a business world that we live in. And it's just plain and simple. I hate to say it that way, but that's just the way it is. The budget is balanced. That's all I got, sir.
I just want to add one more thing. I just want to, for the record, it was put out there that that we was trying to, that we might have been trying to get extra money from Mr. Simon. For the record, Mr. Simon, I would truly rather to have a DPU director than for you doing that position. And the reason why I say that, because with what you're dealing with overall everything in the city, then we do need someone to supervise those different departments, make sure those departments are together. Mm-hmm. But again, the same way that our last administrator, we had problems, we wasn't able to find anyone, and he held that position, doing that dual position for years and years. Okay, it's 10% whenever an employee do a dual position. That's with across the board. By us freezing, and when we did the contract, it was addressed that long as the position was possibly, hopefully to be filled, Mr. Simon will fill in. Right. So by freezing that position, is he supposed to just we still supposed to just keep it at 10%? Or either what I asked the question to all council. If Mr. Simon say, well, look, I can't do it no more. I just do the job that I was hired for. So now, okay. I want you to tell me, what are we gonna do? What will we do? Okay. What we probably have to do is get with the Bennettsville Association, and then they'll send somebody. Then we probably end up paying more than what we were expected, even on the salary that is offered. So again, we got to think with a vision and not think because we looking at personal. Again, for the record, I am not trying to get Mr. Simon no extra money. I'm just trying to do the best that I can with working with everyone that we can move forward. And I hope to God that when that position is unfrozen, that if we voted that way, that we find a good qualified person so Mr. Simon can stop that, because there's so many other things we need to be focusing on. So many things that we need to start. We always talk about bad things, but we need to start to talk about the vision. What is your vision? What is the vision for our citizens? What is the vision that we have? You know, we're always hearing what complaints, but it's time now to wake up and move forward. Mr. Scott.
Can we move to the previous question? Which means can we go ahead and vote on?
Okay, it's all done. Okay, any other discussions?
Yeah, I got something.
Yes, sir.
I'm just gonna say real quick, because it made me think, and I said, Lord, I was just trying to go eat today. And somebody came to me and was talking to me about this $5 thing. There's some people putting false narratives out there. So I just want to go ahead and get it straight real quick before we move on, since that is a part. When I brought up about adding, I thought we was facing a little situation where we needed to make up, for some funds, and I recommended, it was said by one of the council members that, about the brown goods, since for tipping fees, since they were like $270,000. So I said that, how about we come up with a $5 fee, because at some point, everybody go dump some furniture on the, at the driveway, and everybody go have some leaves and limbs that need to be picked up. And so I recommended that we propose a $5 increase. That'll help us come up with that shortfall. And I know you said that the word deficit wasn't used, but I just went off our text, our council group message. That word was used in there, said deficit. And so, but anyway, but that's how that came about. Because like I said, I thought everybody would have to use that in some way, shape, or form at some time during the year. But I don't mind people, saying that about me, but just don't tell false narrative. Make sure the record's straight. And I said in the previous meeting, if anybody got anything, to call my phone and I'll be happy to explain it to them. But I will say that about that DPU position real quick. It is an important position, but me personally, hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I don't foresee it being filled because it's been vacant for this long. So that will be my thinking with that. But yeah, again, that's the logic behind the $5, and I will hope that we can kind of get the record set straight. And I also was thinking about it's hopefully almost time for us to do the goal setting thing again, So hopefully once we do that, we can kind of regroup and kind of, get some things in place. But I just want the record to show the logic, and it was at the last meeting. Go back and watch it about that $5 fee. I explained it, and so don't believe everything that's being put out. Kind of come to the source. But again, as I said in my closing, I cannot support it for those reasons that I listed earlier. And I just received this this new one yesterday at 6, and I don't know about nobody else, but I didn't have time, and my brain is not AI, so I can't put it in there and read through every line that quick, because I got things that I got to do myself. And so hopefully for future references, we get that straight. But I told y'all those reasons, and that's why I can't be in support of it. So hopefully, I hope it passes. But if it doesn't, then I guess we just have to go back to the drawing board.
Okay. All right. Thank you. At this time,
Mayor,
oh, sorry. Go ahead.
with everything you said about the DPU position, it is an important position. And I don't think we need to freeze it for a year. I think maybe we could have meetings if you want to do special incentives and try and recruit somebody. But I don't think it should take a year to find somebody, to come up with incentives to find somebody. It's also putting a lot on Mr. Simon, where he needs to be doing other things, which he has been doing. I'm not saying you haven't,
No.
but that puts, the way you were saying, that position is totally important. And I don't think we can freeze it and dump it on Mr. Simon.
I can agree with
I think we need to actively seek somebody as soon as possible.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. Oh, I missed it. Did someone had a hand up? I just saw
I
you.
did, but.
Okay,
you
go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead. Then
I think we're so close to working this out. I really do. I agree with most of what everybody said tonight. As far as, Tyrone, you said a lot, mostly I do agree with a lot of what you said. I just don't think we need to freeze it for a year to be able to, for example, we updated it a year ago, but it hasn't been updated on the city website. I don't think that we need to take a year to get it posted on Indeed or something like that. But so I think little things like that are just, are getting in the way. And as I mentioned earlier, I do think there are other areas we could look at to cut, and I feel like we haven't spent a lot of time on it. I brought it up, it's not getting a lot of discussion. I'll go back to it again. We've got a property purchase in here for $150,000. Cutting that out would solve the problem. Are we willing to discuss that at all?
So, which are we talking about?
To answer the question, it's a $50,000 impact, because with our real estate deals downtown, we finance those. And so, it would be, total cost is $150, upcoming fiscal year, the impact would be $50.
Okay, 50,000 would still take us a long way. Adjustments to donations,
Well,
going back to banking fees. I mean, we're talking about doing some little things versus doing some, fewer larger things. I mean, I think we're close. I don't really understand why we can't have more of a conversation about some alternative cuts here.
All right, oh, go ahead, Ms. Summer.
Just real quickly before all of you take a vote, this is more so for our public on some of the discussion that you've had. So that our public is aware. Sorry, I didn't know who that was. So that our public kind of understand that some of the inner workings, and sometimes things are said, and I want to make sure there's clarification to those things. Regarding advertising the public utilities director and upgrading it and such, we did have qualified candidates at one point, and council did impose some additional criteria on that. And that was criteria outside of policy.
Right.
Because the only person that has a residency requirement is the city administrator. We don't have a residency requirement for staff. As a matter of fact, sort of our public knows, out of all of our 128 staff members, a third of our staff members live outside of the city, and a quarter of those, about 20% of those live outside of the county. And that's a good portion of that is utilities and police. That's just FYI to give some perspective, so that people won't think everybody's living in the city that's working for the city. Regarding the budget here real quickly, I know we're talking about preventing shortfalls and things of that sort for our public. And we've done this before. I want them to know what the budget, regardless of what version, we've had a couple versions, but again, like I said at the meeting the other night, 90+% of it is the same, and it appears that you all agree on 90-something% of it. But this budget includes a couple of good things. It does include $100,000 of donations, but we want to be transparent with those donations. It's money to good organizations.
right.
And our public need to know that. Without knowing that, and they hear the word donations, they may not know, they may speculate. We want to make sure that they understand that those are good organizations that we're donating to. This budget includes a finance package. It is going to allow us to buy new equipment, much needed equipment, especially for our public works department and in our utilities department. We have a trash truck that goes down frequently. There's a huge cost to the city whenever we have to rent in order to provide that service. This package will allow us to buy those new units and be able to provide that service. This budget includes same level of funding from last year for all of the departments. Few departments, we made some adjustments to training, but for the most part, we allowed departments to stay where they were at, and we felt really good about that. This budget also allows us to get through our remaining ARPA projects, those federal projects. We've been talking about that the last 2 years, and we know that we've been wanting to be cautious and careful with that. But that is a good thing, because we got through over $1 million worth of ARPA, or just a little under $1 million worth of ARPA projects in the current budget year. And we're going to be able to fund those remaining projects and really do a lot for our city. This budget also includes small things that we celebrate here in the city, such as Christmas lights and things for the parade, and all the statues and different things that we like to purchase for Christmas. Our public needs to know that in this balanced budget. And just real quickly, speaking of ARPA, some of those projects that our citizens will see this year is we are upgrading our tennis courts, and we're going to have new tennis courts. We are making modifications to our community center. We are upgrading the fire department and giving them the necessary housing that they need. We are doing upgrades to our small parks that are in the heart of our communities that's been neglected for a lot of years, in my opinion. We do have money to resources to pump into downtown in the form of business grants, or we did awnings program where we were doing 100%, where business owners could come in and we could provide assistance as far as painting their storefront and a whole host of other things. There is money in this budget for that for the upcoming year. So I just want to kind of state that really quickly, because we're talking about all the bad things, and I want our citizens to know that y'all are really close, quite honestly. And keep in mind too, a budget is a budget. It can be amended at any time by council and majority vote. It's etched in stone, but you're not stuck with it. You can come back to the table if there's some things that you don't like. And quite honestly, that's good practice, to come back every quarter and look at your revenues and see if your budget is on target and make adjustments accordingly. It's just a good thing to do. My apologies to council if we haven't been giving you guys budgets on time. We've had to make a lot of changes, a lot of versions. So although we've had 5 versions of the budget, we get individual requests and preferences that we've been trying to cater to as well. So it's just been a lot. But just want to take a few minutes so our citizens would know what's in this budget. I actually agree with Councilman McCray, and I know where he's going with that as far as the budget being posted. That's not something we've done in the past, but we certainly can do that.
Yeah,
Well, we did it one time last year.
Yeah,
We did do it last year, but that's not something that we've done commonly prior to that. And so that is something we can do moving forward. I would just ask council that we consider all of the good things in the budget, and not get too hung up on those small things. Finally, I'll just say, I agree with you. I think I put that in the email to all of you today. We do need a DPU director, upgraded that position for a reason. It is a heavy, heavy, heavy job. And no, I don't enjoy doing both. It is very stressful, all day, every day, along with my current position. But, I'm just here to lead the city, and I'm so excited about that until it doesn't matter. But yes, we are doing everything we can to recruit for the position. That's why it was my recommendation to make it an assistant city administrator. For all of you can recall, that didn't come from council, that came from your administrator, trying to get someone hired. It was my recommendation that came back to all of you and said, can we upgrade the salary on this position to try and get a talented person? If you can recall, it was my recommendation or my ask to all of you to relax that residency requirement so that we can kind of look at talent outside of the county and get someone here. So administration has done all that we can, and we'll continue to do that to recruit for that position. That's all I have.
Any other discussion? Okay, at this time, I entertain a motion to approve the FY 2026-2027 budget for this year.
I thought the motion was, we were just discussing, the motion is already on.
Okay, all right, so a motion been made by Councilman Scott and second by Councilman Davis. All in favor? All right. All against? Okay, all right, thank you. All right.
Mayor,
Mhm.
I think I make a motion that we amend the proposed budget to remove the stipulation for freezing the DPU position or assistant administrator position and amend that budget to, remove the property purchase at $150,000.
Okay, but we can't amend it. Mr.
I just want to say from an administrative standpoint, then you don't quite have a balanced budget.
Right. So,
Where's the issue coming in?
So your offset, as far as the two positions you're trying to create and keep and the purchase, those are two different
This
processes.
budget that, we just voted on has the two police department positions at 28, but freezing the, assistant administrator director of public works.
That's correct.
And the maximum salary for the director of public works is 112.
That's correct.
And, okay, well, you said we have 50,000 this year's budget for the property purchase. Okay. All right.
Point of information.
you finish.
Okay.
Okay.
Can I
Go ahead, finish.
amend the original motion then to add in an adjustment to our donations in the amount of $11,000 and, a change with the banking fees in the amount of 12,300?
Point of, can we ask the parliamentarian how we should proceed?
So, yeah, there was a motion that was made and it did not pass.
Right.
For a second reading of the budget.
Mhm.
So, you know, you have a deadline where we have to pass a budget. The motion that was on the table did not
Friday.
pass. You guys now are certainly free to talk about other things, but, I don't know that we can necessarily take
No.
action on anything because there was no notice to, the public for action items.
Hold on,
So what
hold on.
needs to
So,
happen is you guys need to have a workshop and
Right,
continue
workshop.
talking and get it to a point
Right.
where, you know, there's some sort of agreement that, a budget will pass. Because we have to have a budget passed by our fiscal year.
could I ask, you said that it wasn't to take action, and I thought that we took action when we kind of tried to vote for
That
it.
was-
So
We
what
took
you
action
explain that a little
on
bit?
the item that was noticed in the agenda.
Okay.
Right.
Got failed.
Okay, so, and you say we can't take it on any other item?
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing to amend. There's nothing to amend.
Discussion.
The amendments and the working on it and massaging and all that needs to come from you guys.
We'll have to have workshops and
Personal
discuss, what Councilman Harper is saying. Okay, so it did not pass. All right, so what we'll do, I'll be getting with the administrator about sending something out about a workshop.
Did you want to share with them what happens?
Yeah,
Up until
because,
when they're actually trying.
What our
Well,
ordinance,
so, I mean, you know, we are required, Constitution, South Carolina Constitution requires us to pass, a budget, every year.
Yes,
Right.
yes. And the
And I
deadline,
think our budget coincides with our fiscal year.
which is
And our
Friday.
fiscal year
Yeah.
is
Friday.
Friday.
Friday coming.
Yeah. We do have a local ordinance in place that says, should council fail to pass a budget, then the budget that was proposed to council becomes effective. That does not relieve council from its duty to, continue to work to pass a budget, but that one becomes effective until that happens. That is no excuse though to say, okay, well, that was just effective, we were done with it. You have to, you guys gotta pass a budget.
Right.
So, and can you elaborate on that, you said the first proposed budget?
Our local ordinance,
For that first reading.
you have to give me 1 second. Pick the one up, give me 1 second so I can give you the exact language of it. Actually, I should have it right here. One second. If council, should council fail to adopt a budget by ordinance for the next fiscal year on or before its beginning, the budget as initially proposed to the council shall be effective until finally adopted. So the budget as the one that was proposed to you, the one that
First
was,
reading.
was there any change in the budget between first and second reading? No. Then the one that's been proposed to you is going to become effective until a budget is adopted.
Hold on, let me ask this, hold on, I think you asked, was it any changes from first to second reading?
Right,
And the answer was no.
right. If there's no changes, then it doesn't matter if it was the first or second reading because it's the same, was the same budget before you for the first and the second reading.
So we didn't make
No, wait a
changes.
minute.
Hold on, yeah,
You
I'm
made
trying to,
changes.
yeah, that's what I'm trying, I'm a little off with that. So we did make changes.
But the very first one that was proposed to us
Is
you
under our
said,
ordinance,
very
it's the one
first
that will
reading,
become effective,
the very,
but again, until y'all pass your budget.
the very first reading.
And according to our local ordinance, the one initially proposed to the council.
Right, right.
So
Understand that.
is initially proposed
Right.
the
The
one that was during the first reading,
for the
or is
first-
the
for
one,
the first
or
reading
is,
where-
hold on,
that's
let me
right.
ask you, or is initially proposed the first one that we were given at the first workshop?
So when we
Reading.
sent out our notice of the first reading, was there a budget was accompanying to go out with that notice?
You said when we sent our notice out for the first meeting, was a budget
Right, for the
accompanying?
first reading, was there a copy of a proposed budget that was sent to you guys at that time?
Yes, it was.
Yes.
Everyone had-
Yes.
All right, yeah. So that one was the one that was initially proposed to you when the notice for the first reading was sent out.
Okay.
And under our local ordinance, that would become effective if y'all guys fail to pass a budget before the fiscal year.
Okay.
Okay.
And let me stress again, it does not relieve you guys of the duty
Right.
to pass a budget. We have to do that.
Okay.
ASAP?
All right. Okay, just want to thank everyone for coming out. Thank our council members.
I got a question. Are we going to set a time for we can, come together again?
I'm gonna be silent and get somebody. Yeah.
That's Thursday.
Okay.
I proposed Thursday, at least.
If you're gonna do it by Thursday, then violation.
Okay. All right. So it's something how you,
I mean,
on Thursday.
I'll make myself available. Are y'all looking at having another special meeting or workshop? What are y'all looking
No,
at?
we don't need a workshop. We need to do a special meeting,
Workshop.
correct? Workshop.
Workshop.
So, yeah, you still got some stuff to work out,
Okay.
so you don't want to just, you
Workshop.
need a workshop.
All right. So Thursday, give me a time. 6,
Mm-hmm.
6.
Thursday, 6 o'clock, right here. Okay. All right. Everybody got that? Everybody hear that?
Yep.
Thursday, 6 p.m. All right. Again, want to thank all the council members for, like I said, no, sometimes we don't agree, but we have the best interests of our citizens in hand. And we just want to keep on until we can get things together, and we'll keep moving forward. To our citizens, I want to thank you again for coming out. To our employees, to our media, thank you so much for coming out. And we'll be meeting again as a workshop on Thursday at 6 p.m. right here at Public Safety Complex. Meeting adjourned.